Joining us now, former Homeland Security Acting Deputy Secretary Ken Cuccinelli back with us. Okay, Ken, can you take this on? President Biden said the border situation is a, quote, crisis on Saturday. It's the worst in 20 years, border authorities tell us. Polls show Biden's approval numbers are dropping. But now we have the White House press secretary today saying, we're not saying it's a crisis. It's still a challenge. Critics are saying this is really irritating, these distracting, time-wasting fights about semantics. What do you say?
Well, it is irritating, but the reason it's irritating is because it demonstrates they don't take this nearly as seriously as the whole rest of America. Polls show even Democrats are dissatisfied with how the president is handling the border. So, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see through their lying rhetoric, to see the utter chaos they have inflicted upon our country and themselves as an administration, and yet they refuse to call it a crisis. Although, look, the president is the president. Everybody else works for him over there. He called it a crisis on Saturday. Might have been a little bit of a slip, but if so, it was a slip of honesty. And Jen Psaki herself has called it a crisis in a previous press conference. That, look, reality is hard to deny. And the reality of what's happening at the border, I would say, is far worse than anything in 20 years. People look at the numbers of 172,000 and say we haven't seen that many numbers. We've never seen these numbers when it wasn't overwhelmingly adult male Mexicans. The logistics of families and children and people from all sorts of different countries is much more difficult than anything the Border Patrol, ICE, and the Department of Homeland Security have ever faced in their entire history. This is literally the worst it's ever been in our adult lifetimes.
Yeah, the majority of Americans, according to the Associated Press, we've got Quinnipiac, disapprove of the president's handling of the border crisis. An estimated 1.2 million expected to try to illegally cross this year. That's about the size of Dallas, Texas. We've got the House GOP at the leaders of Judiciary, Homeland Security, and Oversight, those gentlemen being Jim Jordan, John Katko, and James Comer, demanding a meeting with the vice president, saying this is a catastrophe. They going to get that meeting?
Right. Well, she's not meeting with anybody else about the border. This is one of those situations the president knew it was a crisis, so he said the vice president's in charge. Frankly, when he was vice president and they had a crisis, President Obama put him in charge. When Trump had a crisis, coronavirus, he put the vice president in charge. The fact that Biden put Kamala in charge shows you they think it's a crisis. But this is the biggest political hot potato in their administration. None of them have the courage to do what is needed to be done to fix the problem. Again, it's not rocket science, it's political will, and they won't face off with their own left-wing extreme political base to do what needs to be done to stem the flow. And until they do, we're going to continue to see this flood.
The word is they don't want to be blamed for it. That's why Kamala Harris doesn't want to take charge of it. George W. Bush saying to Congress over the weekend, tone down the rhetoric about immigration. The U.S. is about immigration. This country has open arms. Immigrants work so hard to make this country great. But that's not what the issue is. We're talking about the border crisis is a humanitarian crisis. A third of women are being sexually abused when they come here illegally from, trying to cross illegally. Toddlers being dropped over border walls, children being assaulted by human smugglers and drug cartels. Drug cartels are abusing weak borders to pour drugs into U.S. cities. We get what George W. Bush is saying. What needs to be acknowledged is all of those issues we just delineated right there. What do you say?
Right. Oh, I agree completely. Look, Bush has got the same old Bush problem he's always had, and that is he wants everybody to love him, or at least the cocktail party set. And the reality is what he's talking about is he's applying our tough rhetoric on illegal immigration to all legal immigration. Look, what's happening at the border is unfair to immigrants who play by the rules. That's why so many Hispanics, recent citizens, favor the tough on illegal immigration position because they played by the rules. And that's fundamental to this country. And people see it being violated by this president on the border.
Ken Cuccinelli, great to see you.